Two, check, 1, 2. Can you hear me okay? Everybody good? Okay. You guys ready?
No, just
Good to
wait,
go?
John. Just wait.
Good?
I'll be out of your hair in 1 second.
Okay.
Pass these, then they're.
Yeah, just leave them right here for Donna to take care of. And
There's the stuff. These are for everybody else if they want.
Of their, I don't care.
how many we got?
I think I got enough for everybody.
What are there, two? Two? Three.
It's just the application, the agreement of sale, and his record of ownership and other things.
Yeah.
Should go to the secretary.
Okay, so the application, all right, so it's just these two for right now. So just send them the.
What?
I don't know if I really need one, but if we don't have enough, I'll make sure we have.
When Bang,
It's just these two documents.
okay. We have a whole separate account with that. I'm not sure.
The application is the petition that they filed, right?
Well, we give it to them in January, usually at the end of January. Here's the
One on the top and one on the bottom?
correct. This is our reconciliation. That's all it is, and everything balances.
Oh, here we go. Here's the application too, I'm sorry. There you go. There we go, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This for us.
All right. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. We'll get to that, Ron. Thank you. Not for tonight. We'll get to that. All right, let's start the meeting. In attendance tonight, we have Supervisor Ekman, Supervisor Albert, Supervisor Friedman, I'm Supervisor Birmingham, and we also have Jonathan Erler sitting right here. And Jonathan was appointed supervisor by the Board of Supervisors to fill out David Dew's term. He resigned last November 15th. Jonathan would like to make a speech at this time, so Jonathan, I will turn it over to you.
Not to get ahead of myself, this is the resignation from the Upper Mount Bethel Zoning Board as alternate. First of all, thank you to the council who thought I was the best candidate for this position. I will work diligently to assure you and our townsfolk that you did not let them down. To the people of Mount Bethel, I know me being up here is a stray from the norm due to unusual circumstances. Most of you don't know me from Adam. This was a rare chance for someone like me, an introvert, to obtain a seat at this table without kissing hands and shaking babies. I did not have the privilege of a campaign trail to go out and meet the residents, to share my views and my values, or to be slandered by faults or past transgressions. No one asked me what groups I might represent or even what my political affiliation was. All residents got to see was a town in a quasi-crisis, and 5 residents stepped up of their own volition to fill a vital, possibly hazardous, empty council seat. I applaud those other 4 residents, as I personally had an internal struggle on whether or not to step up or just to sit back and continue watching. Within the past few weeks since I was appointed, I've read hundreds of pages of what this seat expects and requires of me, the guidelines I would be governed by, and the penalties and weights of future actions, both in this meeting and out. Then, to add insult to injury, I found out what the pay was. I spoke briefly at my public interview about green energy, the positive effects and benefits it had on neighboring communities, as well as possible revenue stream it may yield, and environmental benefits it provides. I would like to pursue that ambition if, and only if, the cost outweighs the cost to weight ratio is in this town's favor. And it should be noted, the infamous text amendment is what might have made this avenue possible. It is clear we all feel passionate about our small town and would like it to continue to strive with as little change as possible. But as the saying goes, the only thing that remains constant is change. The past members of this council had foresight to know that the world would become more expensive, and the best way to prevent tax increases and keep our rural lifestyle would be to bring in big business into our segregated, unused industrial district. It seems logical to have one giant company rather than to try and scrape together a large group of smaller businesses to fill the entire sector. It is for these reasons that I am not opposed to RPL. Perhaps they just chose the wrong horse for the race, but what's done is done. What we need to do now, going forward, is to get some reins on that horse. Let it work for us, not the other way around. And to be vigilant that our horse stays on its own track. I sure as heck don't want my taxes to increase as food, fuel, and life in general has, but I am not willing to let my children's future of a beautiful, clean, and safe Mount Bethel be in jeopardy either. So I will strive to assist this council to find some balance and structure with RPL, and God willing, bring much needed harmony to the citizens of our community. And now for an addressment, because rumors spread in this town like wildfire. So I'd like to clear the air. 12 years ago, I was arrested in New York on marijuana possession charges, and all my firearms were seized. After a few years and many court proceedings, I pled guilty to a first-degree misdemeanor, as well as some others, and later received all my firearms back from police, including my tactical flintlock rifle, or musket. Subsequently, 4 years ago, the state police again were at my home due to a complaint, although no charges were ever filed. To be clear, I have never been to jail, and I do not have any felonies. But since I do have a Class A misdemeanor from New York, I'm currently barred from purchasing a firearm while still maintaining my Second Amendment freedoms to keep and bear arms. I'm making this public knowledge in the spirit of transparency, even if personally detrimental. This information was explained to the current board after my appointment and prior to this meeting so they can reflect on it. The last thing I want to start is to start off a position with doubt to any member on this board or the community on performing the duties required or any mistrust it may garner. For this reason, if the board would like to re-vote on my appointment, I take no offense. If any resident needs to know more about my personal past matters to alleviate any trust issues, I implore you to come and speak to me privately. I choose not to hide from my past, but rather learn and grow from it. In conclusion, I'm confident that if I take this seat, every member of this board of supervisors would have Mount Bethel residents not only in their minds, but also in their hearts. This is our home. I will make myself available and remain open to hear what any and all residents have to say, be it good or bad. To use my time to address things I am able to improve, both large and small. To be an active member in this council and do my due diligence on topics that I may and will be able to affect with a clear and open mind. I will support all actions made by this council, regardless of my vote. I will do everything in my power to make our tomorrow brighter than our yesterday. This, as well as the oath I am ready to pledge to you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any questions from supervisors? Okay, I'll ask our township secretary to please administer the oath.
Stand up, read that in your hand. Your hand.
I, Jonathan Erler, residing at 280 Saddle Creek Drive in Mount Bethel, Pennsylvania, being duly elected or appointed supervisor of Mount Bethel Township in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, do solemnly swear that I support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth, that I will perform the duties of my appointment with fidelity, and that I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any monies or other valuable things for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my appointment, other than the compensation allowed by law.
Okay, I'll notarize it.
Thank you. Congratulations, John. Thank you. And thank you for your service. We do have tonight's agenda. Copies of the agenda are up on the podium. Have all the supervisors seen tonight's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
7 is going to be tabled at, when we get to that, correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, that being said, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. One thing in terms of number 7, the presentation by Lamont McClure tonight, he has canceled and wants to reschedule. He will be coming back either February, is it 26th or 22nd? Whatever, our
Oh, 6.
Twen-
6.
26th.
14 and 12 is
Yeah.
26.
Thank you. February 26th, he'll either be back at that meeting to speak to us, or it'll be the March 11th, but we'll keep you posted. So I make a motion that we table number 7, the Lamont McClure presentation.
We can do that when we get to it.
All right, we'll wait until we get to it. That's fine. I'll withdraw my motion. Okay, we're going to go into executive session. Now we have some legal issues that we have to discuss. We'll come back out and let you know if there will be a vote taken on anything. So just sit still for a few minutes, if you please, and we'll be out of executive session shortly. Thank you. BOS meeting back into order. We did go into executive session where we discussed some legal issues. And with that being said, I will open it up right now if any motions need to be made. And I'll do the first motion. So we did go back there and talk about an alternate solicitor for the township. And we also need an alternate solicitor for the planning commission. So I make a motion that we go ahead and hire Gross McKinley as alternate solicitor for Upper Mount Bethel Township and alternate solicitor for the planning commission at a rate of $160 an hour.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Any other motions?
Now I'd like to make a motion that we retain Gross McKinley look into dissolving the municipal authority.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Dissolving the municipal authority.
Any discussion among the supervisors? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, now I open it up for public comment. We have public comment coming up, Fred. There is one public comment on tonight's agenda. We did expect Lamont McClure to be here, and we do have a public hearing, so we're doing one public comment period tonight. If you do want to make a public comment, come up to the podium, please. Talk into the microphone. Give your name and address, and then we have our stopwatch right here. This is our new beautiful stopwatch. It'll be 3 minutes. Once the 3 minutes go off, you'll hear a beeping sound, and that's the end of the public comment. Okay? This way we keep it on time. We give everybody a chance, a fair share. So with that being said, does anybody want to make a public comment? Fred, come on up. And Fred, you're the guinea pig with the stopwatch. I hope it works all right.
Give me a second to get this thing out of my...
I won't start it until you give your name and address.
Good evening. Fred Clark, Crystal Terrace, Upper Mount Bethel. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Today, I would like to continue speaking about setting a new tone in town discussions. When people with limited intellectual abilities and weak arguments use personal attacks to call into question the character of their opponents, it is understandable but unacceptable. When capable and knowledgeable proponents of a position resort to attacking their opponent's character instead of proving their point, it is neither understandable nor acceptable. Arguments that use ad hominem attacks do so to deflect from their weakness and call into question both the strength of the user's convictions and their motives. People that believe their argument has merit show respect for their audience by presenting it logically. They do not resort to unsupported allegations and innuendo about an opponent in the process. As we form our opinions about town issues, we should pay close attention to the approach that is being used to convince us that someone is advocating a strong position, and be on the lookout for instances where attack the messenger is used rather than attack the message. Insist on factually supported, logical arguments from our boards, applicants, and members of the public trying to win us to their side. Some that advocate moving the RPL development forward have been using the term concerned citizens of Upper Mount Bethel as a pejorative. When RPL proposed dumping 100,000 gallons of industrial wastewater per day in my neighborhood, the description, concerned citizen of Upper Mount Bethel, didn't come close to characterizing my discontent. I continue to exercise my First Amendment right to express my concerns to the developer, various boards and commissions, and anyone that will listen. None of us has the right to define what constitutes a valid concern for others. And the irony is that some that favor moving the RPO development forward and that they denigrate the citizens are themselves concerned citizens of Upper Mount Bethel, but their concerns are more focused on jobs, taxes, a sound budget, and an Act 537 plan. Being a concerned citizen of Upper Mount Bethel is a good thing, and the term describes anyone willing to spend many long evenings in a township garage or firehouse showing up to vote. I believe that a landowner has a right to develop their property within the legal limits set for that development. Developing RPO responsibly has the potential to solve many UMBT concerns, but irresponsible development has the potential to make the town unlivable. We should only support those that respectfully listen to our concerns, use facts and logics to convince us that our concerns are adequately addressed in the development plans, don't resort to tactics of intimidation and before trying negotiation, and take concrete actions to ensure they are leaving Upper Mount Bethel better than they found it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Come on up. And you'll have 3 minutes, so I just need name and address.
I'm Ellen Prudenti. I live at 1361 Turkey Ridge Road, and I'm here to ask the supervisors about the huge increase in our garbage collection fees. Not only is it almost double what we paid last year, but we have an administrative fee now attached to it. Are we paying for the new receptacles that we didn't want, but we have to use? Another concern of mine is the timeline. We used to pay our garbage bills in May, but now they're beginning in January. So there seems to be a discrepancy there of 4 months. I'm wondering if any of the supervisors could look into this and let us know, assure us that we will not have this kind of huge increase in the future. It is a hardship for our residents. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And I will say, Nick and I did meet with Ron from Waste Management, so we are looking into trying to make changes to the current agreement.
Can I make a comment, John?
What's that?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned about that you have to pay in May. We used to pay in May. The reason why we started in January is to give you 12 months to pay. It's actually not due until December 31st of 24. So you have a lot more time to pay and pay it as you can. So that's the reason why we started in January.
Yeah, so you can either do the monthly payments and pay once a month until you satisfy the entire bill, or you could wait until the end of December and pay the bill at that time in full.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Public comment? Yeah, Ron, come on up.
So nice to be here in Upper Mount Bethel. This is my home, you know. I'm a concerned citizen. I didn't belong to that concerned citizen, but I'm thinking about starting a new concerned citizens because I'm concerned what's going on here in the township. It seems like...
Hey, Ron, I just give your name and address for the people who are watching at home, please.
They just might not know me. Okay. Ron Angle, $52 million highway, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Former Marine, 2023-92-4. It appears like the government has now become not Democrats and Republicans. I've been around government most of my lifetime. Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, moderates, liberals. It seems that the government that we have here now is either you're connected to the concerned citizens or that's the rest of us who are not. And many of us have our own opinions. But I want to bring up one thing in particular. And I'm reading from actual records here, by the way, about the foundation. It was incorporated at 6/23 of 08. Okay? In 12/31 of 18, the chairperson Rabat said that there was $22,464.52 in the account, and she was going to give the money back to the township. But then you go on, and I'm moving ahead now to 8/16 of 19, and Upper Mount Bethel received a letter in the mail addressed to the Community Park Foundation from the Merchants Bank, and basically the business checking account statement for the time period of 09 to 19 had an ending balance of $8,000. This is the $8,000, by the way, that many of us have wondered about the $8,000, okay? Well, there was $8,000, now wasn't there? So, as I move along on this list of things, Lauren Rabat created the Save Our Rural Community. Now, the Concerned Citizens has had many other things. Don't Flush Upper Mount Bethel and Save Our Rural Community. You know, that's great, but they're all kind of one and the same in a sense. And in 1921, or 6/25/21, Mr. Karasek sends an email to Lauren Rabat asking about the $8,000, okay? And that makes sense. And he said, Rabat said, I have not received the bank statement. Then I go on to 11/11 of 21, Mark Metzger. I'm reading off the records here. Mark Metzger created the Upper Mount Bethel Community Park Foundation Legal Fund. Oh, this is some new fund now, okay? GoFundMe account. He identified himself as chairman of the board, and the Community Park Foundation was established in 08 as a 501c3 charity, but that was later turned in. It didn't exist. Metzger posted the following Facebook. For those who are familiar with the recent events regarding RPL, Proposed Neighborhood Improvement District, the Community Park Foundation, here is a link to the GoFundMe site where people can donate, okay? And again, never been any accounting. I feel bad for the people who sent money into the GoFundMe for the Concerned Citizens, because there was never an accounting of where their money went. I have a funny idea, I know where it went, and I believe if the township authorized their solicitor to pursue it, we could find out what did happen to it. The foundation board are asking help fight against the injustices of the town supervisor bringing upon the residents. As chairman of the foundation board, again, I point out he appointed himself as chairman of the foundation board. I don't know if I've ever seen that anywhere except during World War II.
You have to wrap it up, Ron.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. So my question would be, do any of you have the intestinal fortitude to right now say, you know what, we need to look into this $8,000, because that's money that was given by people. This was money by the Post Foundation. These were people who wanted to help the children in our park. Is there any one of you five up front right now would be willing to say, I make a motion that we have Mayor Mr. Karasek begin the process to find out what did happen to the $8,000? Is there anybody?
Okay, thank you, Ron. Any
Yes,
comment?
Your time is up.
Any comment from the supervisor?
Mr. Engel, if that's a 501c, I printed out a form that you can look into the organization yourself.
That's why you were appointed. You now represent our citizens. Not just these people, you now represent all of us.
Okay.
You should be doing that as our leader. Are you
Okay.
one of our leaders?
He just gave you the form.
You're a leader now.
Anyone else, public comment? Yeah, Mark, come on up. Mark, you got 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Name and address, please.
Mark Metzger, 114 Scenic Court. Actually, I'm kind of amazed at that last comment because everything he said was basically wrong. The foundation, I didn't appoint myself as chairman. Lauren Rabat selected individuals that she wanted to serve on the board, and I read the law that authorized her to do that last week. The money he's talking about was leftover funds from a private donation. It's a private donation. When people privately donate to a 501c3, that is not public money. What they're arguing over is the fact that they said, Lauren Rabat said the foundation was dissolved, but she also said it wasn't dissolved legally. And I went and showed last week that nobody can produce articles of dissolution for the 501c3. The only people who can approve the disposition and distribution of assets for a 501c3 is the Attorney General. Nobody petitioned the Attorney General for that, okay? They did file a complaint with the Attorney General late in March of last year. We received a letter. I sent you that letter and some of the proceeds of the information to show you what was found. Nothing that was determined to be wrong or, well, wrong. Let's put it that way. And all I'm saying here is any further mention of this, I interpret as slander. I've had 41 years of federal service in the executive branch of the United States government. I've just retired, received a Meritorious Civilian Service Medal, and I'm not putting up with this crap and this slander. If there's any more of it, I'm telling you, they're going to be sued. Mr. Karasek, I want to know, why was the petition filed against the foundation in October 3rd of 2023?
Wait, time out. He brought Ron, I've got it. Mark, you brought up the question. Question should be directed to the supervisors.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Ron, please. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm just saying,
You can ask supervisors questions.
the law was put out there that authorized and gave us authority to reappoint the board. It went to a meeting. I was duly voted as chairman by the people selected to be on that board. So there is no rogue board. All of the decisions made by the foundation were made legally by a legally appointed board of directors.
And any questions from the supervisors? Any questions from the supervisors?
The foundation is a private corporation. That was a private donation, and the foundation is still in operation, and it is part of the assets of the foundation. That's where it is.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, at a previous meeting, you said that you would provide the financials to this board. Have you done that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm new.
Ron,
so I
Ron,
haven't seen it.
no.
Okay. Okay.
Any other public comment? Come on up, Bob. I'll get name and address, please.
Robert Teal, 2424 North Delaware Drive, Mount Bethel, Pennsylvania. I am the acting chairman of the Planning Commission. I have two questions, and I'll make it fairly simple and very quick. I understand you appointed an alternate supervisor, solicitor, for the Planning Commission. In what capacity are you going to use them?
It's whenever the regular solicitor for the Planning Commission can attend a meeting.
Are you going to designate what item they're going to listen to? We've had Mr. Karzak. I mean, is this orchestrated for RPL or somebody else, or when Mr. Karzak is not available?
We haven't even talked about that. It was just more, we needed to fill the position, so we filled it, but I'll open it up to the other supervisors. I didn't, to me, it's more when Ron Karasak can't make a Planning Commission meeting that we would ask Gross McKinley to say, hey, go fill in.
Correct.
I don't know if you guys saw it differently.
I just wanted to make that very clear on what your intent on hiring an alternate supervisor or alternate solicitor.
No, as far as I know, it's just to fill in when Ron can't make it.
And I do have a couple of other comments, but I'll reserve that for later. I would ask Mr. Metzger, who's on your board?
No questions back to you. Bob, you can bring the questions up
All
front
right.
here.
I would ask the Board of Supervisors, since it's been posed that he mentioned he was elected by the board, his board, as chairman, who is on the board? It's a 501c. We demand as public to know that. We are entitled to, whether it's a private organization or not, they filed as a 501c. The public has the right to ask those questions. Who in the hell is on his board that elected him? And they're all responsible for reporting to the public on a 501c. And every one of you should know that. I sat where you are, and I know the law also, and it was written by Mr. Karzak. That the bylaws were written there, and he has to answer, but not in secret, to the public. I rest my case.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else, public comment? Yeah, come on up, Lisa.
How much more do you need to see?
All right. Let's go, guys. Okay, Lisa, I just need name and address, please.
Yeah, sure. Lisa Pector, I'm representing RPL. But this matter is more for on the topic of slander and rumors and dispelling them. I think there has been some, kind of, I don't know, fear-mongering or something going on with regards to the PenCap transaction. And although PenCap is not involved with RPL, it is being, brought up as being tied to RPL. So I wanted to make sure that people understood that PenCap is a separate organization, entity with separate investors, funding, et cetera. We did have loans maturing at the beginning of January of this year, and as such, we had to pay off our debts. So our current loan documents at the time had only permitted us to pay off in one lump sum, but based on market conditions and some assets getting higher prices from other buyers, we sold them in 5 transactions in 5 groups, and we needed permission from the lender to do that, so we asked to go into special servicing to get that permission. And as of the beginning of January, all our debts have been paid off, and we refinanced the remaining assets. Some are held without debt entirely, and some are held at 40% loan to value, which, when you go to buy a house, most people put 20% down. So it's like less than what you'd pay for your house. So just wanted to make sure, in the spirit of transparency, to dispel rumors and false statements that are being put out there as though me doing regular business activities are somehow nefarious. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Anyone else, public comment? Yeah, Marty. Just name and address, Marty.
Marty Penner, 39 Lindsay Lane, Mount Bethel, PA. I find it very concerning that those decisions were made in executive session when, in a reorg of a meeting on the 1st of every year or soon after that, the solicitor, alternate solicitors are made in public and discussed about. But for some reason, this wasn't. And number 2, Gross McGinley, I'm surprised, and I mean that facetiously, that you guys chose them. Because, man, if I can remember correctly, Gross McGinley was also the lawyer for the concerned citizens of Upper Mount Bethel. That is just, I mean, you guys couldn't have surprised me more with that choice. I mean, we all see the game, guys. We all see the game. It's absolutely amazing. And as I said at County Council, I have never seen a group of people that are so dead set against destroying the prosperity or the opportunity of prosperity for a township. It is absolutely disgusting. If you guys could choose to make the roads rock and dirt and take it back 50 years or 100 years, you would. It is absolutely amazing. It really is. And to disband or look at disbanding an authority that is actually protecting the township's liability. You guys and gals that disband this authority, the township is solely responsible now. You just can't throw it away. The township will be the ones looking after the plant. That, my friends, all of it will fall on every damn taxpayer in this township, not just the users of the plant. You guys really better start doing your damn homework.
Thank you. Charlie, come on up. Hey, Marty, come on. Guys. Charlie, just need name and address, please.
Charles Cole, 6 Riverton Road. I would suggest that the authority members read the Municipal Authority Act in Pennsylvania. And I also would suggest they go back and look at the discussion and the minutes of the supervisors meeting and the planning meeting on how and when an authority should be formed. I don't think they understand what their role is. So I behoove you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Anyone else, public comment? Come on up, Eleanor. Just need name and address.
Eleanor Shelton, 943 Hayden Road. Wow, good to be back for all this. I think it's the last several meetings, there have been some people who are very disappointed with the way the election came out. And they keep mentioning the concerned citizens without realizing that the concerned citizens are the vast majority of people who swept them out of office because they have a different idea of what prosperity looks like. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, public comment?
Gilmore. Tom.
What? Oh, yeah, come on up, Tom. Thanks, Corey. Tom, just need name and address, please.
For sure. Tom Gilmore, 107 Morningside Drive, Mount Bethel, Pennsylvania. Wow. I remember a couple of meetings ago, Mr. Engel came up to the mic and spoke about his wish for peace in this town. I think we're all here as concerned citizens of Mount Bethel, whether we're part of a group, not part of a group, we're here because we care. We can do this without acrimony. We can do this without name calling. We can certainly do this without threats of violence. It's uncouth. It's below us all. But I do want to talk to you guys as our elected officials. Some of us on both sides of the issue came to the LERTA revocation hearing at the county council last week, 2 weeks ago. Both sides articulated their positions very well. My concern is I didn't see a single representative from our town there. I'm upset. I'm a little disappointed in you guys. We've worked very hard to get you guys elected, and to see no one there, especially after you guys tabled the discussion about sending a letter either in support or not in support because you needed to know more about what County Executive Lamont McClure had in his proposal. Would have been a great time to find out more about it. I hope moving forward we see you guys there representing. Doesn't have to be all of you guys, send one, doesn't matter. But I think in matters like that are so important to this town, I expect to see someone from the board there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And that's one of the reasons why Lamont was invited here as well, to explain everything that's going on. But thank you for making the point. Anyone else, public comment? Sharon, I just need your, hold on one second. Hold on. Just need name and address, please. Go ahead.
Sharon Duffield, 554 Potomac. I just wanted to clarify something that I was listening to being said regarding loans, misstatements, falsehoods. I just heard special services being used on a loan was nothing to be concerned about. And if you check what a special servicer is on a loan, and this is not me, this is according to Bloomberg law, The special servicer assumes servicing responsibility for defaulted loans or loans that are at risk of default. The special servicer is also usually involved in any loan modification. I just thought that needed to be clarified. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else public comment? Yeah, Fran, come on up. And I just need your name and address, please.
Francis Fizzicaro, 3001 North Delaware Drive, Upper Mount Bethel. Well, I just want to give you a heads up. I think we're going to have another bakery in our town next door. It looks like somebody's taking over the bakery, and we'll have a bakery. I figured let's do an up thing tonight with all this bad stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
That's good news, Fran.
All right, anyone else public comment? Okay. I think the stopwatch worked out all right. We're in good shape. Moving on, let's go to announcements. Township Secretary Beck, any announcements down there?
Well, sign up for Code Red. And just a heads up, I'm not sure with this inclement weather coming, whether garbage will be pushed back a day or whether they'll be delayed, later on in the afternoon. But I'll try to, as soon as I get word, I will try to let everyone know via Code Red, or Facebook or the website. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So you're going to wait to see if Waste Management calls and says, hey, we're not coming today, or
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
supposed to let me know as soon as they know.
Okay, cool, thanks.
It may be 5 o'clock in the morning, but
Well, don't send a Code Red to Ron Karasak, because he sleeps in till about 9, so.
9, I'm still out at 9. I'd get up at the crack of dawn or the crack of noon.
Nick, did we lose Nick? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. You can give an update later. Okay, yeah, that was just to, Nick's got the road crew all ready to go. They'll be out tomorrow morning. As far as Nick has last informed me, the snow's going to start about 4 a.m. It's going to go till about 3 p.m. tomorrow. It's going to be a heavy snow. It's going to come down fast. So if you can stay off the roads, please do. Our road crew will be out and about. And if you run into any sort of emergency, please call 911. Supervisor Ekman, any announcements?
None.
Okay, Supervisor Erler, any announcements?
Yes, I have an update on the Route 611 closure. A letter was sent by Congressman Cartwright and Susan Wild and Senators Casey and Fetterman that they are looking into it. They know that it's been over a year since the closure. It is very important to us, anyone trying to go north. So I have the letter here. It's online as well, but just to let you know that it has gone up the chain of command and it is being addressed.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Albert, any announcements?
No.
Supervisor Friedman?
None at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and then just to give a couple announcements, I met with Jeff Young of Suburban Ambulance, just to talk to them more. As you remember, a couple of meetings back, they had come here to request $50,000 from Upper Mount Bethel Township. A bunch of residents had come up to me afterwards and said, don't go ahead and give out the money unless we get something in return. So I did have lunch with Mr. Young, and we're going to continue our discussions about that. In terms of the emergency shelter right here in this firehouse, things are moving forward again, and we're going to start building it come this fall. So the emergency shelter is going forward. We put in for one more grant. We're waiting to hear whether we get that grant or not. That's going to determine our actual overall budget for the emergency shelter. But if we do not get the grant, we're still moving forward, and we're going to start building the emergency shelter right in this firehouse, I would say right around September.
Is anybody here from the fire company? You need to have those front doors all unlocked. There's only one exit and one door. All the rest of them are locked. If there was an emergency to get out of here, 3 of the doors are locked and 1 is not. Please take care of that at this moment meeting right now.
Thank you, Bob. Hey, Nick, you want to go?
doors-
Yeah, please.
Doors are locked?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. And then last announcement, office hours. My office hours for this month are February 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. Supervisor Erler is going to be there. It's going to be Jonathan and myself. So if you want to come and ask any questions to our newest supervisor, please come. He will be there. I will be there. And we'll answer any questions you have. It will be at TK's restaurant right here on 611, right down the road here. And that's my announcements. We'll have Nick give us any updates on the storm when he gets back, or later on in the meeting. Now, Ron, I want to turn it over to you for our public hearing on Penn Jersey Food Mart and the intermunicipal transfer of liquor license.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the benefit of the public, under the PA Liquor Code, there's a provision that if someone wants to transfer a liquor license from one municipality to another municipality, there has to be a public hearing on that transfer in order to see if there are any objections to the transfer based upon the welfare, health, peace, or morals of the municipality or its residents. We have here a transfer application from Cousins Holdings LLC in Bethlehem to Penn Jersey Food Mart Inc. here at the 5 Points intersection in Upper Mount Bethel. There is counsel here for the applicant, along with the applicant, so we would ask them to come up and sit up here, get close to the stenographer so she can hear. And the purpose of a public hearing is to advise the public of what exactly is going on and the reasons therefore, so that the public can then offer comment if they believe it is necessary. So that being said, counsel, you're here. Please identify yourself and your client, and you're on.
Jason Ulrich, 33 South 7th Street, Allentown, PA. My client is Penn Jersey Food Mart, represented by Aman Verma. It's an existing business located at 975 Mount Bethel Highway, Bangor, PA. It is a Sunoco station. I would ask that my exhibits be marked. I have the application marked as Exhibit 1, the agreement of sale of liquor license marked as Exhibit 2, and a copy of the PLCB printouts regarding my client's ownership of other liquor licenses showing only one single violation back in 2008.
Okay, and those have already been pre-marked by the stenographer, and unless there is any objection by anyone, they can be admitted into evidence for this hearing.
Okay. I'll be very brief. Could you please give your name and address for the... Sorry. Okay. You'll be able to hear me. I'm pretty loud. Could you please give your name and spelling for the board?
Yeah, Aman, A-M-A-N, last name Verma, V for Victor, E-R-M-A.
And are you the owner of the Sunoco located at 975 Mount Bethel Highway?
Yes.
All right. And is that currently owned by Penn Jersey Food Mart, LLC?
Yes.
Okay. Are you planning on purchasing a liquor license from Cousins Holding, LLC, located in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay. Have you signed an agreement of sale to that effect?
Yes.
All right, is the agreement of sale contingent upon the transfer of the license into the township?
Yes.
All right. Have you ever owned any other prior liquor licenses?
Yes.
All right. Has there ever been any prior violations against you?
No.
Okay. With the exception of a 2008 violation for cigarette sales
Yeah.
roughly 15 years ago?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Have you gone through PLCB training before?
Yes.
All right. Do you understand the importance of doing ramp training?
Yes.
All right. Are you willing to essentially comply with all PLCB regulations pursuant to Pennsylvania Section 447 PACSA 4-461B3?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. Verma?
My one question to the counselor, you asked the gentleman whether he would conduct certain training or participate in certain training. Is that part of the ramp training?
It can't be avoided. That's part of it. So we can't even file our application for transfer under the Pennsylvania Liquor Code until we have this hearing and a resolution is approved. This doesn't even affect the actual license. He will actually have to be licensed by the Liquor Code. So all of that training has to be done before he can obtain the license. This is simply the step we have to take to bring the license application to the Liquor Control Board.
Okay.
And let me state, Mr. Chair, that the township did receive a letter from Mary Jo, it's J-O, and Sam Crafty, Krafty, owners of Mount Bethel Beverage, expressing their concern about this license. And their concern at this point is a bit premature. Their concern was there has to be a placard put in the window for 30 days telling people that there's a license transfer may be occurring, and then if anyone wants to object, they can object, etc. This matter is not there yet. First of all, this board has to determine if it wants to grant the transfer, and if so, then enter a resolution approving the transfer. Then the resolution goes to the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board for processing and then actual transfer of the application. And at that time, a placard will go in the window and people can object, etc. So I want the record to make clear that the township is taking the Crafty comments to heart, but we're not there yet with respect to this, since the township has not yet made the approval of the transfer.
And if I can provide a little more exposition on that, their concern about posting a placard is actually valid. Those big orange placards that you guys see, they're called PLCB 1296s. They have to be posted before the transfer. We can't post that until this resolution would be approved, allowing the potential transfer into the township. So their actual concern would be addressed in the course of the transfer, regardless of what happens. You can't get approved for a license. They send an agent out to investigate the premises prior to any approval anyway.
I have a question, sir. What type of liquors will be sold?
It's an R license, so it would be beer and wine permit sales. That's it. And pursuant, because it's an R license transfer, they'll be required to have 30 seats available. I don't know if you've been to many of these types of gas stations where they sell these licenses, like a Wawa or a Sheetz. They have to have 30 seats, food available for 30 people. That's all required because it's an R license. That's part of the regulations pursuant to the liquor code.
And who's going to police this? Are they going to be in open coolers? Will they be behind the seats? You have school students walking down. How easy is it going to be for them to access a cooler, grab a can of beer, a bottle of beer? Like, will it be behind the seats with a separate cashier? I mean, that's a big concern.
So it will be with a separate cashier. It has to be, liquor sales have to be separate from all.
I get that, but you could have a register that sits here on a counter and a register that sits here on a counter. My thing, is it going to be a beer cave where it's going to be behind, where it's not going to be school students coming in?
The answer to that question is LCB would not allow that, most likely.
Well, I've seen gas stations where you can walk in and just grab one out of the door.
This is also located near a school, so they would require that.
Right, so is there a way that we can see what the different requirements are, then walk into Turkey Hill where you can just open a cooler?
I mean, other than making that statement that that's what will occur and that LCB most likely wouldn't permit it, no. I mean, this is about the transfer itself as to whether you think the license should transfer into the township, not the safety concerns. LCB addresses that.
I think we should still have some type, I mean, being close
No, I
to
mean,
the
we could make
school.
that, I mean, I'm sure my client would be happy to make the pledge that it would be kept separate and safe from students. That's the
I mean,
whole
I'm
point.
not against the transfer, but I'd like to see where we make sure that we don't have, I mean, this kids being able to just go in and put something in their school bag and walk out the door, or, you know.
Well, and theft is always a concern regardless at any
Right,
station.
but how do we have cigarettes behind the counter, how can we protect the alcohol? That's, you know,
Yeah,
I
I
was
think-
young once too, so I get it.
I think Supervisor Ekman just wants to know, how are you going to store the beer and the wine? And are you going to make it difficult or almost impossible for a student to slip a beer can in his backpack who might be coming from high school or something?
Well, I mean, with respect to that, I mean, obviously, if that happened and they got caught with it, my client would get the license pulled. So that's not something he would prefer. So you can't, I mean, I can't put it any other way other than to say that if that were to occur and he was caught allowing alcohol to be stolen, he would be, his license, his liquor license would be pulled. So of course there's an incentive to not allow that to happen.
But what if you know, that's if he intends to say, oh, that, you know, the little kid stole the beer, oh, well, you know, that happens. But if he takes all the precautions, he's not negligent in any way, but things happen, you know, there's an old lady falls in the parking lot, he runs out to help her, and in the meantime, little Johnny Birmingham's taking a beer and throwing it in his backpack.
The answer to that question is that the liquor will have to be secured pursuant to PLCB regulations. It will be done.
Okay. Any other?
I'd like to see what the LCB does when it's this close to a school. I mean, I'm not against being able to run into a gas station and get something, but the school's kind of concerning to me.
Well, this is only the hearing. Would we go for the resolution, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but when we talk about the resolution, when we go back into the public meeting, Supervisor Ekman can make a motion, correct?
Yes, she can. There are various timeframes, et cetera, with respect to this, but we can discuss that at that time.
Okay, so Supervisor Ekman, I would bring that up when we talk about the resolution, any motion you want to make.
Okay.
Any other questions from the supervisors? Okay, Ron, we don't have any other questions.
Okay. Very good. Then, unless the applicant has any additional information it would like to present, we'll consider the public hearing closed.
Real quick, I'll move for the admission of my exhibits.
Yes, and I think I had said earlier, if no one objects, and I hear no objections, they're made part of the record with respect to this matter.
Thank you to the supervisors, thank you, Mr. Karasak, and thank you to the stenographer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Number 7 is the presentation with Lamont McClure. I'm going to make a motion we go ahead and table that. Mr. McClure will be coming at an upcoming meeting, and he will let us know. It'll either be February 26th or March 11th, but we'll keep you posted on that. So I have a motion on the floor to table Lamont McClure's presentation.
I'll second.
Any discussion from the supervisors? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Number 8 is our consent agenda. This is everything under the consent agenda, which are the following meeting minutes, are all lumped together, and we approve them one time or not approve them in terms of what comes under the consent agenda. If anybody wants to take any of the following 6 items and move any of those onto the regular agenda, let me know now. Otherwise, we'll move forward with the consent agenda. Okay, hearing none, I need a motion to approve the 6 items on the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the 6 items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, financials bill list. Nick?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the general fund, there was $299,224.42. Interim bills, ACH, which was $2,413.44. The rec fund had $202.50. Interim bills in the rec fund were $2,823. The fire tax account had $574, and interim bills in the fire account were $1,182. EIT Open Space Fund, there was $5,463.81. Liquid Fuels Fund was $22,287.55. Escrow, there is only one Ultra Poly Recycling Center, $27, and the total bill is $334,197.72. Mr. Chair, ask for a motion to pay the bills.
Okay, do we have a motion to pay the bills?
Make a
Go ahead. So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Number 10, Resolution 2024-04, transfer of liquor license. Ron?
Yes, we now have on the agenda the resolution to approve the transfer of the liquor license. You should know that under the liquor code, the township has 45 days from the date of the application to make a decision with respect to this matter, unless an extension has been requested for a 60-day window. And that being said, the extension for the 60 days, which I believe was requested earlier, would be until February 26th. So that being said, let me just see when your next meeting is. I think it's the 26th. There you go. So you could technically wait until the 26th to make your decision, but you can't wait much longer than that. In fact, you can't wait longer than that because it doesn't even ask for or require an additional extension as you would maybe with a land development plan or subdivision plan. So you don't have to make any decision tonight if you don't with respect to the resolution, but a decision would have to be made by the next meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion we table this. We've got a lot of material here to digest.
Said he wants a table, but I don't know why.
Corey, Supervisor Ackman, was there anything you wanted to see from the applicant before deciding?
It's not so much the applicant. I'd like to see, what LCB does when you're this close to a school. I mean, I know what I went through all the years working at 5 Points, what we went through. I'm sorry, you wouldn't know what you went through. Working at a local bar next to a school. So I'd like to see what precautions LCB does. I mean, I know kids can walk in there and just walk out with things. Or anybody, not just necessarily a student.
And I'm sorry, I rushed the gun on that. You made a motion, right, David?
Table.
Or to table it. Okay, I'll second that motion. Then now we're in discussion with Supervisor Ekman. Yes, Counselor.
Still want to look into it.
And Counselor, I'm sorry, if you could just come up to the podium, if you don't mind, so the people can hear from home. Ron, is there any, I understand Supervisor Ekman's concerns, that the township, we have to protect our children, especially from getting around alcohol.
And that's a valid concern. And it may well be that perhaps council can, before the 26th meeting, check the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board regulations or other statutes that might talk about what happens with respect to liquor at or near a school district. Right now you have a bar that's right by the school district, the 5 Points Inn, that's been there for a long time. And as far as I know, I don't believe there's been any issues, but that's different than a convenience store, and I appreciate that. So if council can get some regulations or something to explain and present to Supervisor Ekman and the rest of the board as to what the LCB would do, that may be beneficial.
Okay,
And
thanks.
I
Yes.
can at least make that representation. What will happen, Supervisor Ekman, is we will have to get approval from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, the actual board itself, not just going through the regular process, to get this approved to be close to a school. It's an additional step we have to take. So anything, I believe, if I remember the regulation correctly, it's within 300 feet of a school, we would have to get direct approval.
That's why our bar was grandfathered for so many
And that's
years.
actually what I told my client when he asked this question. The answer is, we can't get approval. So your concerns will automatically be addressed once the transfer is approved, because we will have to physically petition the board while we make our application to say, hey, we intend to put this by a school, and then we have to provide evidence of what our regulations are. But and ironically, similar to what the people who made their objection, it's somewhat premature here, because we can't present that because we haven't even put our site plan together, essentially, like you would see for that, to show them what our plans are.
And I'm sure you're familiar with the requirements of what the liquor board is going to ask in order.
Correct.
Are you able to send Supervisor Ekman, hey, when we go for this license, here's what we have to comply by?
I mean, sure, I can give you the regulation itself and send that to you, but it sounds like you actually are familiar with this one because of the location of the bar that you worked at being there. So essentially what you had to deal with there, they will have to deal with as well.
But kids couldn't just walk into our coolers and stuff that were behind the bar. That's my biggest concern.
And I assure you that the LCB, should they approve this, will have mechanisms in place that they would have the same concerns that you would, to be perfectly blunt. That is why I would ask that it be approved tonight, so we can get to that step.
And then if it gets approved and they bring up that it's really just a regular open cooler and self-serve like Turkey Hill, the one in Bangor, so on and so forth, then can it be?
Ask Ron.
I mean, you can ask Ron, or I can tell. The answer to that is, if you opposed, if that was what we were proposing, remember that placard will go up the minute this is approved, or we get that license and we can send in the resolution to them to say, hey, we're moving for the transfer. You'll be able to make that objection as a citizen, and you would have that right, and as the Board of Supervisors, you would have that right.
Ron, anything you want to add to that?
The only thing I could add is that if council would be willing to add to the resolution, and just give me a moment, that his applicant will not only follow, obviously, the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board regulations, but that he will make certain that the alcohol, beer, wine is kept in a location that would be not accessible to students or minors. That might assist this board in making a decision, because that's now part of the actual resolution that will be going to Harrisburg.
And I actually think that might, I mean, believe it or not, that wouldn't be, it would actually be beneficial to us in a certain way. My client has no objection to that, because it actually benefits us. Then it shows that this was considered as well as the township. You guys are aware of it, and that it would be something they've already considered. It'll show them that they're serious. We have no objection to that. If you want to add that to the resolution, sure.
You okay with that, Supervisor Ekman?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm just thinking, you're saying there's going to be 30 seats in there?
So it has to be there. It's required for the R licenses.
Correct.
That you
No,
have.
I know the license. I
Yeah.
might not know a lot of things, but with the liquor
No, I'm not. I'm
license,
certainly
that
not
I do
trying to
know.
over.
But you have to have 30 seats. Is there going to be, like, you're going to take the whole store and change the store, or shorten it? Are they building? Like, I guess I've seen the beer gardens. I've seen where they have the mock-up cases where they're there, people can see them, the sales. It's a holiday weekend. It's just, I don't know. I know what we had to do for the bar and make sure there was, I mean, you couldn't even leave. If LCB walked in and you had a bottle up on the bar because you were making a mixed drink, you could get, you were in violation.
And bear that in mind. I mean, if everything you're saying is correct, and if that continued forward, my client would lose his license. So there's, like I said, there's a certain incentive here, and obviously, I mean, can you come up here? What he had mentioned to me was, he intends to do cameras, the stuff that you wouldn't see at a bar. He's actually going to have cameras and enough people to monitor the location. Am I correct in that? Yeah. So, I mean, I can't promise locks on the cases because I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what they're going to do with what LCB is going to tell us they want, but we would comply with that. So we have no objection to any of those stipulations being placed into the resolution, except for the lock one, because obviously
Right, you don't know.
that may not be permitted by LCB to put locks on it.
Right.
And that's the problem. Like I said, I don't know what they're going to say.
and it's going to say in the resolution, like Ron had suggested, that applicant will take all necessary precautions to keep liquor away from children and minors. What if they breach the resolution? What's the remedy there?
Well, then the LCB would get involved, because again, remember, this resolution is going to the LCB for their approval with respect to this. So now you have a violation with the Liquor Control Board that could then affect your license.
And, and again, and as Supervisor Ekman pointed out, I think you're aware that more than one violation ever leads to a conditional licensing agreement, which almost inevitable leads to your license being pulled. Like, there are serious incentives to, particularly when you see the cost that my client is expending to purchase this, you certainly don't want that to happen. There is every incentive to not allow children to touch alcohol. And that's why we introduced the Exhibit C showing that he has had 2 licenses in the past, and the only violation was 2008, and that was many, many years ago. He runs clean establishments.
Okay, well, we've got 2 weeks to think about it. There's a motion on the floor to table it until the 26th. We'll have Supervisor Ekman do her research or whatever you need to be comfortable. Any other questions from supervisors before we go for a vote to table this?
No, I mean, it's just a transfer of a license. It's still got to go through a hearing process with the resident, the neighbors, and as well as the school district. So.
Okay.
I think that there should be time, even if we approve this, to answer your questions going forward, but this gets him on the right path.
Oh, yeah, no,
To actually bring up what he can and can't do from that organization.
Right.
But he needs this to be approved first, correct?
we can't submit our application to LCB until this resolution is passed, which is why we're urging it not to be tabled, just to let us get through this. And I would represent that I can't lie to you. I mean, I would get myself in legal trouble, so.
You made the motion, if you want to keep the motion. Okay. Supervisor Friedman wants to keep the motion on the floor. So with that being said, any other questions or concerns or statements from the supervisors? Okay, that being said, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
Corey, are you yay or nay? Okay, so 3-2, motion passes. Okay, so we'll have it on the agenda for the 26th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Nick, intermunicipal agreement with Lower Mount Bethel Township.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The Park and Rec needs this passed. This, I guess, is a once-a-year agreement that for softball, they need this agreement so they can utilize the fields in Lower Mount Bethel and Upper Mount Bethel. There's a lot of legal jargon in here. I don't bore everybody with it, but if there's any questions, we have Ron here, so it needs to be approved so they can move forward with their softball registrations.
Thank you, Nick. And Ron, this is the agreement we do every year, right?
This is the agreement that is done improperly every year, okay?
And it doesn't change, really.
I mean, if you need this to get it done, fine. But again, with intermunicipal agreements, there has to be an ordinance passed by this township and by Lower Mount Bethel Township in order to approve of the agreements. And I don't think that ordinance has ever been passed in the past with respect to not only Lower Mount Bethel. There might have been issues with Washington Township fields or with Borough Portland fields, et cetera. But if you don't do something, then the young ladies can't play. So approve the agreement, but at some point we should be doing this correctly.
Okay.
Because my concern is that you have the township insurance carrier start to run for cover if there's some accident that occurs and they find out that perhaps all of the I's were not dotted and the T's were not crossed.
Okay, so Cindy, if we could put this, we'll go forward and see if there's a motion to approve the agreement. But if we could put it on our March 11th meeting, ordinance for intermunicipal agreement softball, please. That being said, is there a motion on the floor to approve this intermunicipal agreement between Upper Mount Bethel Township and Lower Mount Bethel Township?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we do the intermunicipal agreement with Lower Mount Bethel Township.
Second.
Any discussion from the supervisors? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the agreement between Lower Mount Bethel and Upper Mount Bethel signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Upper Mount Bethel Police Association MOU. Ron?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This memorandum of understanding had been approved by the board probably a few months ago, but at that time the pension amount was not yet determined and it was not made part of the memorandum of understanding, and now that pension amount has been determined to be $1,148.74 a month, 1148.74. So this is a settlement in a matter involving the final former police officer of Upper Mount Bethel Township, Mr. Dennis Smith, where he is now eligible to begin collecting his pension benefits effective July 1, 2016. And there's also a payment made by the township in the amount of $3,500 in order to resolve this matter. So again, the memorandum had been approved earlier, but I wanted it back on again because now we have the actual numbers in front of us.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Any questions from any of the supervisors?
This was previously established?
Yeah, it was approved, and now Ron wanted to update it with the correct amount in here.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the Police Association Memorandum of Understanding with the figures that were just provided by Mr. Karasak.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the supervisors? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Lawn mowing maintenance bid advertisement. Nick?
After thorough discussion with Lindsay and from last year's experience with the lawn mowing, we had that huge storm in July. We ran into a problem with our labor and equipment breaking down. And our last, with all the problems that we have from that storm, we didn't finish until almost November because we just didn't have the manpower. And then looking back at the expenses on...
Hey, Nick, hold on one sec.
You hear me? Oh, now it's on. So we spoke with, Lynn and I, we spoke back and forth and looked at figures and the cost of everything that we have. We have old equipment and we have some new equipment that's not even being used. So what we're going to do is we propose to put out a bid for the services for the parks and for the firehouses. There's, if I could read it, Mr. Chair, this way people that are listening can understand if they're interested in bidding.
Yep.
Upper Mount Bethel Township is accepting sealed bids for weekly lawn maintenance at the following locations to be bid as one project. Upper Mount Bethel Township Community Park, which is approximately 55 acres. Upper Mount Bethel Township Municipal Building, which is 3 acres. Mount Bethel Firehouse, rear of the property, is 3.9 acres. Echo Lake Ball Field, which is 1.8 acres. And Eastern Industries, there's an acre that's located at Eastern Industry that needs to be cut. And this is weekly. The lawn maintenance includes mowing of all grass, weed whacking around all buildings, utilities, and fences. Contracted dates for lawn maintenance are as follows: once per week minimum, unless otherwise requested by the township, from April 15th, 2024 to at least October 15th to 2024. All sealed bids are due to Upper Mount Bethel Township, mailed or hand-delivered to the Township Secretary at P.O. Box 520, 387 Ye Old Highway, Mount Bethel, PA, no later than March 11, 2024 at 12 p.m. Bids will be open on March 11, 2024 at 12:30 p.m. and will be placed on the Board of Supervisors meeting agenda for review and approval of their regular scheduled meeting on Monday, March 11, 2024 at 7 p.m. Bid packages are available upon request. That's the bid, Mr. Chair. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so, and you're looking for a motion to advertise this?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we go ahead and advertise the lawn mowing maintenance bid notice.
With the conditions that were just outlined by Mr. Graziano?
Correct.
Okay, I'll second.
Any discussion from the supervisors?
What's going to happen to the current lawn equipment, the mower, the weed whackers from the township?
Most of it will be sold on municipal bid. We were going to keep 1 or 2 of the better pieces of equipment just in case that we need to do something for the park and rec, for the fields. We're responsible to make sure that they're taken care of and make sure that the softball, baseball, field hockey, that all those fields are up to par. And that's it. The rest of it will be sold on municipal bid.
Okay. Did we have specific people in the past to do this work? Are we laying people off? Are we moving time around?
No, we're not laying anybody off. We did have part-timers, but we found that some that we had, that's all they could do was mow, but they couldn't weed whack. and then they drove 2 tractors, broke the frame. It was a nightmare. And then when the storm hit, we ran into a problem with help, adding overtime. This year, we have a lot of plans for, we're going to be spending money on, or liquid fuels money, on a lot of blacktopping and mitigating a lot of the roads this year, and we're going to need manpower for that. And this will actually help us with keeping our part-timers for using for flagging and things like that. But no one's going to be laid off.
I think it should be noted that this is pretty labor intensive and it does beat the equipment up.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, just, do you have a cost estimate on what we're gonna save, or?
Well, it's probably going to be a wash, but it's the matter of the help. It's probably going to cost around $40,000. And if you add all the help and all the part-timers that we were using for that, Jason, it was, it's pretty much a wash. But it'll help us with the manpower being able to utilize for other things. And it projected another storm comes, we'll be able to take care of the township. And a lot of people had to wait a long time for the mitigation, just didn't have the manpower. We didn't get any money from FEMA. We have to prepare for that. That the cost effectiveness, like you're saying, it would probably be a wash financially, but in the long run, it will be a plus.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Nick. Ron, Dykeman Stormwater Agreement.
Yes, there's a stormwater agreement that I was asked to prepare by our township engineer, Mr. Coyle, so I'll have him briefly explain the reasons for that agreement, but it has been done and it is ready to be approved by the board, and then it would be forwarded to the Dykemans for their review and approval. So let me pass it over to Justin so he can explain what that's about.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. We worked with the roadway department and the manager looking at installing a new drainage pipe along Shady Lane.
Are you coming through the mic, Justin?
Am I coming through? Coming through?
No, you had it.
See if it's green. It's good.
No, it's just a...
Press down.
There you go. Nope.
Nope. Hello? Hello?
Can you flick his down?
Okay. I'll try it again. Thanks. Yeah, we worked with the roadway department and the township manager, met out on site on Shady Lane, just north of the River Road intersection, looking at, there's an area that's prone to flooding, and across the street from this area, there was a grading plan that was done. So in conjunction with that, the township intends to install a new drainage pipe along Shady Lane. And then this easement, it's shown as gray on the exhibit that we put together, is basically to convey the outfall from the new pipe that the township will install, and then swale or channel the water right down to the Allegheny Creek just above the existing bridge. So this is really meant to provide this easement for the swale that will be installed, and then really improve the drainage features along Shady Lane, since this area is prone to flooding under certain events. So like I said, there was some original correspondence. The manager reached out to the property owners. They are aware of it. They've been amenable to the request, so I don't see any resistance at this point, but it's more or less a drainage easement to improve stormwater flow. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Justin.
again, since there has to be a swale on the Dykman's property, they have to obviously agree and allow the township to go to the swale, improve it, fix it, maintain it, etc. And that's the purpose of the easement.
Okay, thank you, Ron. With that being said, does any supervisors have any questions, concerns, or is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion we approve the Dykeman Stormwater Agreement.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from the supervisors? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the stormwater agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Announce it.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Part 11, tabled items.
John,
Yes.
can I interrupt for a moment?
Of course.
Cindy just gave me a note that says here that there are reports of multiple people shot at the Portland Bridge. Troopers from multiple barracks inbound. Now, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but people should be careful if they're walking outside here until perhaps there's some additional information on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving onward, let's talk about Manager Graziano's agreement. This was, I believe, Ron, do you remember the status of where this agreement was?
Yes, the status was that Mr. Graziano and the board had arrived upon basically what his benefits would be as a township manager. This is not a contract of employment. It's not something that changes his at-will status. It's simply an agreement that outlines the benefits to which he would be entitled as the township manager, along with also outlining his salary. So the agreement was forwarded to the board perhaps maybe sometime in later January in draft format, and then this is now still in draft format, but it's the final draft that has all the information added to it that was missing with respect to Mr. Graziano's full name and various other items. So this would now be on for discussion and would be retroactive to January 2nd unless the board would want to determine or set some other time.
So, Mr. Cast, I understand it's just a formal finalized agreement?
Yes, it's, again, a benefit agreement. Let me just, I'll review it quickly so not only the board but members of the public can hear it. There are a number of whereas clauses that are called recital clauses that talk about what exactly this agreement is, that the township will employ Mr. Graziano as a township manager to do functions and duties as a supervisor, so direct. This is an agreement that's retroactive to January 2, 2024, and will remain in effect to the 2025 calendar year reorganization meeting. So again, every year when there's reorganization, the township manager position, along with the township engineer and the township solicitor and township sewage enforcement officer positions are re-reviewed and looked at again. So that's what that means. That the township manager remains an employee at will, so he serves at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors and may be terminated at any time, whether with or without cause. The manager may voluntarily resign from his position upon 60 days prior written notice to the township, and in the event there is any physical or mental disability that renders the manager unable to perform his duties, he can resign his employment by giving as much notice as reasonably possible under those circumstances. And obviously, after the effective date of the resignation, no further payments would be due. Effective January 2, 2024, and for all of the 2024 calendar year, there will be an annual salary of $128,700 paid bi-weekly, and they are to include the normal township operations plus any additional hours, which also include night meetings, like he is here this evening, so he can properly perform his job. As to his benefits, he will have no health care insurance, no prescription insurance, no dental insurance, no vision insurance. He will have 11 sick days per year. These cannot be accumulated. If they're not used, they're lost at the end of the year. Vacation, he will receive 2 weeks vacation per year. Again, this vacation time cannot be accumulated. The usual concept or phrase of use or lose would apply. And he can take vacation time, however, in lesser increments than 1 week if that applies. to his particular situation. No life insurance, no disability insurance, no sickness or accident insurance. He will have no pension or no retirement plan. He will receive paid holidays and paid personal days. The holidays would be the customary ones of New Year's, Good Friday, Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, the Friday after Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. And he will have 6 personal days. And again, these days cannot be accumulated. If the time isn't used, he loses it. The township will provide at cost the manager with a computer and a cell phone, but they will remain the township-owned property and will be subject to the township policies. He will get no vehicle allowance. Professional dues and training, the township will pay for his training and attending various seminars and other sessions, and also will reimburse him in the event he has any reasonable and necessary out-of-pocket expenses in the course of his job. The township will pay for any and all fidelity and liability insurance for him. The township manager will obviously make sure he keeps the confidentiality of the township and other items, and that both the township and the manager represent that they had an opportunity to review this agreement and that they agreed to it. So that's the meat of the benefits agreement as is before the board.
Thank you, Ron. And Nick, you've had a chance to review the agreement, and did you have any revisions, any concerns?
The only question I have is the mileage. I know it says no vehicle expenses, but typically for the 3 years I've been here, I've been getting mileage because I use my own vehicle. I just want to throw it out to Ron. I don't know if that has anything to do with the vehicle not paying for any vehicle expenses.
I would say to you, Mr. Chair, that since the agreement says vehicle allowance, none, that if in fact the manager is going to be paid so much per mile or something by way of reimbursement for mileage, then that item should change in some fashion because it could be confusing.
Sure.
That's my only question. Everything else is agreed upon.
We do have a township vehicle, right? That says
Right.
manager on the side of it?
We have the Upper Mount Bethel Township vehicle, but Lynn typically uses that.
Yeah,
right?
my vehicle is my constable car.
Yeah.
I use that, but I use it for services here also.
Yeah, he uses his personal.
And that's my vehicle, it's my insurance, I own it, and there's no expenses to the township. It's just if I use it for operating during my daily duties here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, Mr. Chair, that if he is using a township-provided vehicle, that he obviously should not be given an allowance because he's using a township vehicle unless he's putting gas in it out of his pocket. But assuming the gas is paid by the township and he's using the township vehicle, there probably should not be allowance. But if he's using his personal vehicle and paying gas out of his pocket, and then in that case he should be reimbursed, I would think, for
Sure.
mileage as per the IRS number, which I don't know, I believe it's maybe close to 60 cents a mile now, but I'm not sure.
67.
67.
All right, it's even higher.
So do we need to wait for you to make those changes before we make a motion to go ahead and execute?
I think that
the
change
agreement?
is small enough that if someone would want to make a motion to approve the agreement with the condition that if he is using his personal vehicle, he is getting the IRS rate for mileage reimbursement, I think you can do that. I can easily make the change and you can sign the agreement the next day or Thursday or Friday or whatever. But you can
Okay.
make the motion tonight because it's a small enough change that I don't think requires a whole lot of complexity.
Sure.
I'll make that motion, Chair, that we approve the manager Graziano agreement with the stipulations that were just outlined by Mr. Karasak, with the change for the vehicle usage be added to it.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion from the supervisors? Okay, with none being heard, go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of approving this agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Next up, Nick, update on the community park bathrooms.
Sure. Just today, we got a quote for the bathrooms from Troy Mechanical Incorporated. That was just forwarded to me from our engineer, Justin. And please note that it's this is a CoStarz supplier. So when it's a CoStarz supplier, if the residents are in Pennsylvania, the second-class townships, anything over 23,000, I think that's 300 or above, you have to do formal bidding. And this is a big undertaking. But when it's CoStarz, you don't have to do that. So it saves us time because it's a required time that you have to post it in the bidding, just like we did with the going back to the mower bid. We have to formally bid that because it's probably going to be around 40,000, whatever. It'll be over that threshold. This will save us time to get to the chairman's goal of having this done by July 4th. And this job cost would be $148,505. The money for this is already allocated. Mr. Post graciously gave us $100,000 approximately 3 years ago. That money's still in the bank. I allotted through the budget $100,000 to the Park and Rec Board budget to cover that also. We also have a $60,000 grant proposed in Norco in Northampton County. I spoke with Mr. Brooks, who is in charge of that grant, and that money was already allocated to us last year, but because of the census, it's based on USDA values, citizenships, and salaries, and North Bangor went up. So we couldn't use it for the roads on Creek Road, which was targeted for. So we asked him if we could change that and use it for something else, and he said it has to be something with the community and ADA, and it was a perfect fit for the bathrooms. So that has to be brought, and they have to go through their process in Northampton County, and that probably be done by the middle of March. So with that being said, that's approximately $260,000. So we're and the other expense was going to be the sewer and the septic. That Mr. Policelli is actually taking care of that, our SEO. And with that being said, we could save a lot of money because we have the equipment, we have the manpower, and the ability to do it ourselves. So that would bring down the cost of that exponentially. So everything seems to be working in the right direction with this and getting it done and getting it targeted for July 4th. So that being said, if there's any questions from the Board of Supervisors, I'll be happy to answer them.
So Nick, you want to just give us, what are our next steps at this point?
We really like to wait until, with Troy Mechanical, they need like a month to be able to get their equipment together, and then a month to build and do the build out. So right now we're in the winter season still, so you still can get freezing, and you really shouldn't be digging this time of the year. So we're saying probably April. I was just talking to Scott and Justin. April's probably a good target to start. Obviously, we'll have to bring this proposal in front of the board because you spend the money, not us. So we would have to bring that up with you. But I just like to wait for that $60,000 because even though it was targeted to us, and talking to Frank Brooks, we need to wait until we want to make sure the money's in the bank before we move forward. But like I said, there is funding already set aside for it. If we have to go on this adventure by ourselves, it can be done. So moving forward, I would just say to the board that we just wait until the middle of March to make that decision, as soon as we can get that $60,000 locked up. But we have, obviously we have Justin here, and we have Mr. Policelli here, Scott. So if there's any questions about the engineering part of it, or is there any questions about the septic part of it, we can answer them tonight. I know Steve's got a question there. I don't know if you see that.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Who had it? Oh, yeah, Stevie, come on up.
Steve Ott, Harvest Lane, Upper Mount Bethel Township. Is there going to be water in this bathroom?
Yeah, it's water.
I think about stuff a lot, and you put a set of bathrooms like that up there, which there should be. Who's going to maintain the toilets? Who's going to go there in the wintertime and shut the water off and drain everything out? Who's going to make sure that there's toilet paper there? Who's going to do the scrubbing of the floors? Because I know of 2 places that young kids, and everybody was young at one time, go in there and raise holy devil.
Hell, yeah.
And they busted toilets off, they busted the sinks off, the water ran until somebody was in there to check it. I think the smart thing for that community park to do is to give the porta potties, whoever you go to, and you'll be able to put them all over the place, not just in one location. You won't have to worry about cleaning them. You don't have to worry about maintaining them. You don't have to worry about them in the wintertime because they put this antifreeze in them. You won't use those bathrooms up there in the dead of winter at that park. And if somebody wants to walk around there and it's 25 below zero, you're not going to have those bathrooms functional. I don't like to see money burnt that maybe we could do something different. I mean, porta potties aren't the nicest looking things, I got to grant you. But until you get a building up there where you got heat in it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I don't think those kind of bathrooms are feasible for up there. I really don't, because we're going to find out. You're going to have to maintain them things every day of the week. And you're going to have somebody can, if you don't lock the gates at night, you don't know what goes on in that little, now if they knock over the porta potty, that ain't no big deal. But think twice about all this before you go spending all that money. I mean, I like to see them, but I don't think it's feasible just yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Nick, is there heating and cooling for winter?
There's not gonna be heat, it's gonna be closed in the winter. I mean, if you go up to the park. Right, you can't use it, there'll be a porta potty there, one. But it costs us $7,000 a year just on porta potties. Yeah.
So Cindy, if we can put this on our March 11th agenda, and in the meantime, we can also talk to other neighboring parks that have restrooms. How do they handle it,
Well, we do have workers, highway workers that we have that are part-time.
Yeah.
That already clean the park, that already go up and,
Yeah.
but there's also gonna be coaches, and there's gonna be responsibilities at night. It's gonna close when the fields are finished. It's gonna be closed. They're gonna have automatic locks at 9 o'clock. They're gonna close when the park closes at dusk and dawn, and in the wintertime, you're not gonna have to worry about it because it's gonna be closed.
Yeah.
And it's closed at night and closed in the morning. And it's utilized all the time with people in the summertime, with the park, with the softball, with field hockey, and all of those leaders that are very good people. They're people just like us in the audience. They're very responsible. And I understand what Steve is saying. There is maintenance involved. There's maintenance involved with everything. There's cost involved with everything. If this is something that's been going on for 3-4 years, I think it's a good thing for the community. Steve brings up some good points, and we're addressing them.
Okay, thank you, Nick. So Cindy, if we can put that on the agenda for the 11th? Yeah, go ahead, Stavros.
Stavros Barbonis, 1805 Potomac Street, Chairman, Parks and Rec Board. Just to clarify, the plans do have heaters in them. The purpose is to keep it above freezing. I believe it's going to be set to 40 as a minimum. The money we received as a donation was specific to bathrooms. We have to use it that way or we cannot use it. At that point, we're returning it. But there is a need for bathrooms at the park, even if it's just for our sports and rec programs, but we also rent out the pavilion. The bathrooms are nowhere near the pavilion. If we want to meet ADA compliance, we need to do it right. There's already been issues with people slipping in the pavilion as it is, walking down the hill. We know it's rocky. We got the money. We've been planning for this for a while. It got derailed for whatever reasons. We can't go back now. But Parks and Rec, sports programs, and even the people who rent out the pavilion who pay money to do so, we need to do this for the community. As a reference point, while it doesn't address even July 4th, July 4th's porta potties alone cost us $2,000 for one day. There is a cost of maintenance to having these bathrooms there. That's going to fall under operating expenses. We don't know what that's going to be, but we have to plan for it. It's not that we can't do it. From the point of people destroying things, they do it today. I'm not saying that to make this any better, but it takes us a long time to get money to do anything at the park. People have been riding skateboards on our new furniture. People are putting staples into our furniture. People are screwing and putting nails into the side of that pavilion. We have no enforcement. So I agree with him. I agree with Steve Ott that what we do have, we're pretty darn lucky to have it right now. What we don't have is a method to enforce it. This goes similar to the idea of a dog park. I'm bringing it up now. Parks and Rec had these discussions. We have no way to enforce compliance. The smoking initiative, same situation. We have no way of enforcing compliance. Parks and Rec discussed these at length, and our general consensus was until we have the means to properly enforce these rules and compliance that we want, it makes no sense to put them in. Now, this is an expensive project. The pavilion's an expensive project, and that's not even finished yet, and we still don't have money for that. So from a general state, I would like to see this board look into what it would take for us to gain the resources to properly enforce compliance of our rules and regulations for parks and all the facilities, because we're already seeing a detriment. We're already seeing paint and I can keep going. But yet we can't finish our own projects to prevent them from decaying just from Mother Nature. We have to address the entire thing. I don't know what that means. I don't know how we're going to approach it, but it needs to be something that this entire board considers. And Parks and Rec is on board. Tell us what you need us to do help with to gain additional resources. Right now we don't have it. These bathrooms are going to fall under the same demise because people are going to do what they're going to do with them. And again, I don't know. I spoke to Justin Cole. Parks and Rec agreed to move forward with this. We agreed to move forward with these 2 years ago. But based on the data we received, we were told we couldn't. That's why we changed tracks. So the other side of this is we want good information. Because what we received is what we rely on. And we're not the professionals. We're not the lawyers. We're not the engineers. We can only work with what we get. I'm giving you guys feedback that, yes, there is heating in the bathroom. Now, you have the plans. I haven't even looked through all the pages, but I know there's heat in the bathrooms. I even highlighted that I saw a potential discrepancy because the heaters are 240 volt and they're listed in the plans as 125. And I expressed my concern to Justin that make sure we have enough voltage, amperage to that breaker. He knows now. We spoke with Scott Policelli, and told him about our requirements for the pavilion kitchen, which from our perspective does require a grease trap. So there's going to be additional costs for that. That's it. I just want to make sure you guys, if you haven't looked at the plans or if you haven't spoken to Nick, Parks and Rec, or maybe even Justin about what's already in the plans, let's have that discussion. Because right now, it didn't seem like anybody knew there was heat going into those bathrooms.
Okay, thank you, Stavros.
Thank you.
Okay, so Cindy, you will put that on for the 11th. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I know you're trying to wrap up, but this was one of the reasons the park was considered is part of the NID district, so that the security funded by the NID funds paid by the buildings could pay for security not only for our industrial park, but to help enforce the rules and regulations of the community park. It was also put in to give 80 grand a year to the park to use for maintenance, to use for enhancements and whatnot. So that was part of the reason we were trying to help solve the problem with the NID and the NID funds. So that might help in some of your consideration and thinking about these things.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on. Last night item on the agenda is embassy funds. Nick?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This was tabled because Supervisor Freeman was asking about the differences in penalties. So I spoke with Sarah, the manager at Embassy Bank, and the penalty for early withdrawal is for a 3 to 6 month CD is 3 months of interest. I'm sorry, my correction. 3 to 12 months CD is 3 months interest, and a 12-month or more is 6 months interest. There's no penalty for principal. That was the main crux of the tabling, but just to let you know that a 3 to 6 month CD right now is 5.4%, and a 12-month CD is 5.25%. So I would ask if the board would act and give permission to move the funding that we have in it that's earning very low interest and move these into, and like I said before, previously, MSC is already an approved bank. So we just need an approval from the board to move that funding over to the CDs.
I'll make that motion to move the funds into the CD.
Hold on, we're not opening it up yet. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ron, go ahead.
All, I get what you're saying, because our Fidelity Bank, all of our accounts are 5%. Our our checking account, everything is 5%. But this money was targeted and was put in by the previous manager into the Embassy Bank, and it's really allocated to the fire department. And then there's another fund that's sitting in there that's just under the general fund. We can move that money out of there. That's up to the board. Right, the money's not used for daily use. It's not in the general fund, so. No, you're right.
So I know we have a motion on the floor right now, but
Embassy, just to correct, Embassy Bank does not offer 5% for money market. That's why the CD is the only option there. Otherwise, take the money out of there and move it to, like Ron's saying, to a different bank. But then you guys would have to approve another bank or Fidelity. We could just move it to Fidelity and get 5% there. That's up to the board.
I think it's wise keeping the same bank for everything, just for ease.
That's up to the board.
Do you want to take your do you want to rescind your motion or
No.
keep your motion?
I'll keep my motion.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion from the supervisors? Okay, none being heard. I'll call for a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, meeting adjourned.